Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I'm a little excited for this one, Dave. We wait all year to come to this episode to
We do.
remember, to reminisce on the year that's passed, but to give our top 20 of our favorite reads of 2025 as we bring in the new year. It's
Uh-huh.
arrived. So this is our time to look back and celebrate. My pal Dave, how are you, pal?
Oh, dude, I'm great, man. Excited. Yeah. Are
Excited. You
you?
know, I'm excited. I'm taking off my glasses. We're gonna get focused.
Woo.
Before I forget,
hmm
we've got to send a shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Please hit that rate and subscribe button, the thumbs up. We have a lot of fun talking about comic books. It's a nice escapism. Come join the Omniverse Comics Guide. It's a fun time. Anybody that's listening on a different podcast platform, please do the same. Share the show, leave a comment. Everything
Yeah, the
helps. And of
love.
course, please visit omniversecomics.guide for all of our reading orders, our previous podcast episodes of all variations within the comic and manga sphere. Omniversecomics.guide. Let's kick this show off. Top 20 of 2025. It's our 20, but
Mm.
it's our 10 each, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
So
so
it's
we're
our
right.
individual top tens. So we're gonna
Yeah.
do it as a turn-based back and forth.
Yeah, and I think it's only fair because sometimes like you might list something that would be your number nine, but it's showing up at 18,
Yeah.
perhaps, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, it's like, no, I thought it was actually better than 18, but
That's
this
fair.
way everybody gets their proper due.
It's number 10.
We're going to start off with something that's going to be a little odd in many ways, and it is odd in many ways. This is
Of
Drome.
course.
It's by Jesse Lonigan. It came out in September this year. It's from 23rd Street and First Second. I do like the odd First Second book, like Battling Boy and the like. This is a weird one. Starting this off, if you're ever thinking of going, I'm going to take someone's top 10 or top 20 list and work my way through and see what I think of it. If you're doing that, great. If you've never read a comic before, don't start here. This is a really strange choice. It is cosmic life, death, the meaning of everything, violence, war, love, gods, monsters, humanity, inhumanity. It's 300 something pages, but it's largely silent. So it feels like a quick read. And even though we talked about silent books before and how you read panels, read images as part of the storytelling experience, like do the beats, take your time. Even doing the beats, something this thick, I did it in about a 45-minute bus journey. It's fascinating, bizarre. I'm not 100% sure at times I knew what was going on, but I do think it needs to be read once if not more. So I may not read this again, but I know that some people could easily pick up this book and pour through it. It's a work of art. It's a work of blatant genius, but it's not an easy read. So, I mean, nothing's for everyone, but this categorically isn't for everyone. It's a challenging book, but I think reading it again and going over it again and again, you're probably going to pick up different things every time. So yeah, that's Drome, Jesse Lonergan. That's my number 10 book, our first book for the show.
Eric's number 10.
I'm gonna go a little off the beaten path as well. We were just
Ooh,
talking about the Kickstarters before
yeah.
the show began, and I'm going with a Kickstarter book.
Oh,
But it is
nice.
available. It is available for people to go on a website, and I think you can purchase product from this creator.
Hmm.
He was on the show promoting this Kickstarter, and he delivered on the product. And that's Word Burglar.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Word Burglar rhymes with comics number one. It is 90 plus pages. It's a good quality paper stock, but it makes you kind of feel like old school comics.
Ooh.
And essentially what it is, I'll show you a little bit of art throughout it. It's not the same artist because what it is he's taken his songs and made visuals to them. So there's a soundtrack that you can listen to this comic book with, and the
That's
art
pretty.
and the panels in it are what the song is about. So
Mhm.
some of it is about going to the comic book shop and that weird comic book guy that works at the shop or tries to sell stuff to you. And it's a whole song about that with, the artwork to go along with it. It's got Steve McNiven cover doing the classic Hulk
Oh,
take,
yeah.
right? Really, really cool. It's got a lot of cool bonus features like back matter, like these magazines would have when you would buy them at the comic book shop. So he delivered on the product. It's a really cool concept. Go to wordburglar.com. You can get a copy of it. He sells his vinyl there. And if you want to listen to the album, you can any streaming platform where you listen to music, the the albums are there and the playlist is there to go with Word Burglar Rhymes with Comics #1. So
That's brilliant.
check out our episode where he talks about it and go onto the website and, get a copy of the book if you want. It's available. I didn't want to pick something that's like, wow,
You
this
can't
is
get
one that's
it.
hard to find, but
Yeah.
I mean, you might not find it at your local shop internationally, but you can definitely order one.
Case number 9.
Your number
My number
nine.
nine, it's from Boom Studios. It's A Vicious Circle. It's by Matson Tomlin and Lee Bermejo, or Bermejo. Apologies, Lee, for I've already screwed her name up tonight. It came out in June. It's a three-issue series, but they're quite chunky issues. They're kind of old school graphic novel size, or at least I assume they were, based on the dimensions and size of this book. But this is a super violent, hyper detailed, beautiful looking, but quite kind of gnarly time travel story. And it's about one guy pursuing another guy through time and their ongoing war as they track each other down and fight each other across the decades and centuries, even. And so they are obviously from a future with a time machine, and they end up in a time in America when people were protesting about the treatment of black people in America. So, like, he's dealing with that, and also this guy is trying to kill him. There's just layers upon layers upon layers, and things, him trying to create a life for himself in this new timeline when it seems everything stopped and he can get comfortable. Is he going to be able to just have a life for himself, or has he just put his loved one and child under threat from this time jumping psychopath? It's a tough read at times in that it's quite brutal looking, and Lee Bermejo's art is brutal. He
Yeah.
does it incredibly well. It's so detailed. It's a stunner. The art does lead the book blatantly, but that doesn't make it a bad story by any means. If you like your
It is
sci-fi,
comics.
like your time travel, yeah, exactly. Like your dinosaurs.
Yes, you talked
Um,
about that book. I remember you
yeah, I think
mentioning it.
so. If you want to hear more about the expectation of the book, although I didn't know anything about it at the time, jump back to our May incoming episode to find out a little bit more. But yeah, that's my number nine, A Vicious
Nice.
Circle.
Eric's number 9.
My next book is something that I wanted to list in 2024, but it hadn't come out in a collected edition yet. I had just read them in singles. And I'm like, oh, we talk about collected editions in our top 20s. I'm gonna get it next year and I'm gonna sneak it in. And that's Red Coat from Image Comics, Ghost
Yes,
Machine. I've read Volume 2. Volume 2 is a ton of fun as well. I'm gonna continue with this series. It's probably my favorite from the Ghost Machine
same.
umbrella. As a series so far, because I've read 14 issues, I think now. Brian Hitch and Jeff Johns really deliver. He comes from a time in history where, the red coats, he was wearing the red coat at the
Yeah,
time. But the adventures that he goes on and the people throughout history, real figures in history that he encounters with this sort of slanted history. This is kind of like when you watch not a perfect comparison, but in that sense of revisionist history, like when you get a Quentin Tarantino, he takes stuff that you know and are familiar with and then gives you the alternate version. That's what this
yeah,
kind of does with figures in history, and it's a lot of fun. It's
yeah.
really, really cool.
It's
And go ahead, yeah,
I was
because I
going to
know
say,
you're a
it
fan
sounds
too.
like it should be learning. It sounds like you should be, this book is going to teach me some stuff. And it kind of does,
It kind of
but it
does.
doesn't feel like that because it's Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch. I mean, it's an action book,
Yeah,
but you do
yeah.
also go like, oh, I didn't realize 'cause I don't know a lot of this stuff. It's American history, not English history. So
Right, right, right. To your point, like as you're reading it, you're learning things that you may not have known or heard about, and they stick true to like the reputation in a way that that person has garnered through
mm,
history, giving it a fun little spin. The final issue in this particular collection is no action. It's a nice bookend to this storyline where one of the people that he encounters through history, they have a nice quiet moment that is well earned. You think of Brian Hitch and Jeff Johns and you think of the best action-packed
yeah,
superhero full screen comics,
authority,
right?
ultimates in terms of the art, anyway.
Exactly, exactly. Like it's all action-packed. And this is a in one room type of situation and it's just great. So I wanted to mention it last year. People know how I feel about Ghost Machine, Jeff Johns, and that whole crew of people, but this is a great series to jump onto. If you're looking for an image comic that you're like, what's different that's consistent? This is a good one.
I'll tell you one thing before we move is
Hmm.
if I'm fully intending getting the deluxe edition to the
Yes.
point where I didn't consider it for the top 10, or I would have probably made it my number four.
Dave's number 8.
This shouldn't come as a surprise that it's on the list, but people might think I would have put it higher. This is Daredevil by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr. It was something I've been waiting years for, and these are some of the earliest comics I read when I first started buying single issues. So there's a lot of nostalgia here for me, but also I didn't start reading it until a fair chunk into what's in this collection. I bought the single issues at one point over time, and I had a pretty impressive, but I'd say, even if I say so myself, Daredevil collection for a while. But switching to bookshelf versions, this run I've been begging for. It doesn't start with Nocenti and Romita Jr. It starts with other writers, including Mark Grunwald, artists like Steve Ditko, Barry Windsor Smith. Nocenti's run begins with 238, the Sabretooth battle that's a tie into Mutant Massacre, the X-Men event. But when Romita Jr. jumps on at 250, it kicks into high gear. There's a lot of weird, and some of the weird works, some of the weird is like, is this working? I don't 100% know, but I still love it. So
Yeah.
that's why it probably could be higher, but that's why it hits my number eight.
Eric's number 8.
I'm gonna go back to Image Comics. This is Battle Beast from the Invincible universe. Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley. It's a story of Battle Beast explaining his background, explaining where he comes from, how he ends up in the Invincible universe. It actually starts after he fights everybody in the Invincible universe and then he leaves out of boredom because he's like, this wasn't a challenge. I'm looking for a challenge.
Mm.
And this is the first 6 issues. I'm not sure how long this series will go because if you've read Invincible, there's a outcome for Battle Beast that is in that story.
Mhm.
So I imagine this will be 12 issues, maybe a little bit more, depending how much
It
they
could
want
be
to stretch
more.
it. Could be more, depending on how much they want to stretch it. But it's a lot of fun. I mean,
Mm.
Ryan Ottley is drawing the characters that he's made a name for himself drawing. And they're telling new stories with characters that are a ton of fun. And you're traveling through different alien planets with Battle Beast as he's just looking for someone's ass to kick. I mean, I'm reading this and
That's a
I'm
good
like,
summary, man.
yeah, I'm reading this and I'm like, there's so many options here for our favorite battle scenes in comics. Just like
I
this
bet.
book is full of them. And nobody draws a battle scene quite like Ryan Ottley. I think we've
Oh
included
yeah,
some of his fights from
pretty
Invincible.
sure. Yeah,
Pretty sure you can't avoid it. I mean, if you don't know what we're talking about, watch the cartoon on the animated series on Amazon to get an idea.
it would
But
be an idea, but it won't do it justice.
it won't do it justice. No,
No.
no. So yeah, Battle Beast, Image Comics, Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley, Volume 1. Even if you haven't read the Invincible universe, it's easy to jump into without any of that baggage. They did a really good job.
I've had some requests for when I'll be adding Battle Beast to the Invincible Universe reading order. It's
Okay.
hard to say where it fits just yet because of the
Yeah.
time jumps. So
Yes.
as it progresses, I will add story arcs in.
Dave's number 7.
Okay, speaking of reading orders, I
Yes.
have, I believe, done a reading order of the Silver Surfer this
I
year.
saw the book in your hand. I'm so tempted to buy it, but I have them all in Epic.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you've got them, great. If you haven't, this is a perfect collection. And it's
Ah,
weird because I would have thought I would have been more excited by Nocenti and Romita Jr., but when I saw this, I kind of lost my mind a little bit. I was so hyped, and I haven't been that hyped for a Marvel release in I don't know how long.
so yeah.
But it's okay. So it's Steve Englehart. I'm not necessarily a fan of his. His writing can be quite old school and a bit janky. In this, though, it's smooth, it's perfect, and it floats through space like a silver dude on a surfboard. It's spot on. Plus, you got Marshall Rogers' art on the first 15-ish issues, and then Ron Lim takes over, and Ron Lim defines the Silver Surfer for, well, for a number of years and for a number of fans, including myself. When I first picked up Silver Surfer, Ron Lim was drawing it.
I almost wore a Silver Surfer jacket today
Did
for this
you?
episode. Yeah, I'm wearing a Thanos
I
one. I don't know
saw
if you could
Thanos'
tell.
little
Yeah.
chops on that one.
Yeah, I have one like this in the Silver Surfer. It's the Mobius art for it, but
Oh,
Ron Lim's Silver Surfer is definitive.
it
It's
is.
it is. Look at that cover. Like when you think of Silver Surfer, that's what you're thinking of.
That's
Come
how I
on.
imagine him. That's
Yeah.
literally. Occasionally, my brain goes to Kirby because it should.
Of
But
course. And
Most Ron
Buscema,
Lim.
Ron, look at that. Come
Well, the
on.
thing is, you get the Buscema Stanley Judgment Day story. I don't really rate that, and I don't really rate the Stanley Mobius story either. I know a lot of people do. I'm in this for the modern day ongoing Silver Surfer series, and this takes us from well a little before his ongoing series, but around 1987 when they gave him his own ongoing, he escapes Earth for the first time since Fantastic
Yes.
Four
Yeah.
50, and he heads off into space and encounters Skrulls, he encounters Mantis, he encounters Galactus, and there's an incredible Galactus fist fight, which we'd never seen anything the like before, and I can't think of a similar story. But it takes us all the way up to the storyline where Thanos returns. So this is a nice brick filler.
That is a great Silver Surfer collection. You got what you need right there.
It's
There's a,
all there,
it's
and
all
it's
there.
pure, joyful comic goodness. Yeah, it's my number seven, Silver
Yeah.
Surfer. I didn't say the full name of it. Return to the Spaceways Omnibus.
Eric's number 7.
This was another sneak in last minute read. It's a DC Finest, my first DC Finest book. It's Batman, Red Skies.
Oh, you did mention it, yeah.
These are old comics, right? As old as I am. Taking place just before Crisis on Infinite Earths. But what's really cool for me reading these is that these have never been collected before.
No.
In my estimation. I could be
I
wrong,
think you
someone could
no, I
correct
think
me.
you're right. Or maybe the odd story has here and there.
But they're in a fluid collected order. Like
Mm,
everything is proper. You read it and you get the full story every time. You're never like, what issue? Because it goes back and forth between Detective and Batman.
it does, yeah.
And it's all written by Doug Monch, mostly illustrated by Gene Colan and Tom Mandrake throughout. So the art's consistent even when the book changes. The first half of this collection is taking place while there's the red skies from Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they mention this Armageddon happening. And then halfway through it, just there's a little blurb that says the crisis has ended, and the story just continues. And what's also fun about this is that there's a lot of Harvey Bullock. There's a lot of Jason Todd, Robin,
Yeah.
before he's stealing the hubcaps, right? Before the revision version, which I don't mind, but you really get a 26 issues. This is a mini omnibus
What's
right
it
here.
finish on?
This finishes on Batman 400. I have to say, after reading this, I feel Doug Monch doesn't get enough credit as a Batman writer. I didn't realize how much he wrote. There's a lot of soap opera aspects to this Batman, which I really like.
Yeah.
He's not fighting Darkseid. He's not this Bat God. He's Bruce Wayne, runs Wayne Enterprises. Jason Todd is his ward. He's Batman,
Mm.
and he's in a love triangle with a couple of different people. And you want to know what? The Catwoman relationship, it's been done to death. Like sometimes we think like, oh man, that guy, Tom King did a run on Batman and Catwoman. It's been done.
Yeah, completely.
Hush before, like I thought Hush was sort of like the Batman Catwoman romance. Like, no. Doug Monch was doing all kinds of really cool character stuff with Batman and Selina. There's a cheesiness to it, of course, because it's the decade. She doesn't know that his alter ego, but this is also the time of, Black Cat and Spider-Man, where there was that sort of interest in the fact that they had this second life together,
Mm.
right? And it works. There's just something about this where I don't feel, whereas a lot of other titles at DC needed that refresh button, Batman did it. Batman was fine. I don't know what the sales were, right? I'm not in that
I
regard.
think Batman had some surprising dips, and of all the characters in DC you think wouldn't, it apparently was dipping. And even during the Denny O'Neil stuff in the 70s, it still didn't necessarily sell as well as you might think it did. The relaunch saved it, probably, I think, from
The
what I
year one,
understand. Year
in year one,
one, mostly year one. Dark Knight Returns helped as well.
sure.
All that kind of stuff brought Batman back into the limelight because there was still the stink of 1960s.
Like this Bronze Age era of Batman, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on and reading some of it.
If you want to know where Dark Skies as a story arc fits into Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's a handy Crisis on Infinite Earths reading order. Probably the most succinct one you'll ever get. Not to toot my own horn there, mate, but that's available
Omniverse
on
Comics.
omniversecomics.guide.
Dave's number
We
6.
do a regular quarterly update on manga releases with Raf. And I thought, Joe, what? It'd be good to include a manga this year. The time I spent reading manga has not been what I've wanted it to be. But one that wasn't recommended on the show, sorry, Raf, is Mujina Into the Deep. The thing that appealed to me most about this book was literally just the cover. Like, how cool is that cover? But
Yeah,
the
that's very
style
cool.
comes through into, I've got to be really careful what I show on camera. Thanks, YouTube. You'll cry if you see any of this. The art in the initial pages where they have often have that color artwork, it's so good. But it starts off setting certain expectations, almost that you what you'd expect to see of a manga with all the certain cliches, the kind of samurai stroke ninja high school girl with a bit of tech fighting in the streets with another one. But it's not. It starts to twist it around, and where you think this is going, it isn't. Mujina are people who've given up their rights, and by giving up their rights, they can do whatever they want. They are often rogue elements. Some of them are assassins. And for some reason, Mujina seem to access these high-tech boots that can launch them across rooftops much more easily. But there's a lot of dark underbelly stuff in this. So some of the stuff they get involved in and try to prevent is pretty twisted. There's some fairly graphic scenes. Don't read this with your kids or to your kids, basically. Uh, I didn't discover it that way. I had a good inkling, and Raf warned me, thankfully. Had me asking a lot of questions as to am I okay to like this book? But like when you start to realize the morality of the characters in it, as it starts to piece together, and you start to realize who you should be siding with, because it's one of those books where you're kind of going, who's the good guy in this?
Right.
Which I like that kind of thing. But we're up to volume 3, so this is volume 1. I absolutely loved it. The art is incredible, and we'll be going into way more depth on this in an upcoming episode of a new regular feature, which is our manga book club, Omniverse Manga Book Club. The second episode will feature this, so it's a bit of a spoiler that it's made the top 10, so you kind of have a rough idea of how I feel, but you also get Raf's take on it as someone with a bit more experience with manga than me. So, yeah, that's Mujina Into the Deep, Volume 1. It came out in February from Viz Media. It's by Inio Asano. I didn't mess that up, I don't think. It can be quite intense, but it's definitely entertaining.
It looked like it left an impact on you.
Oh, it left an impact,
Every
yeah.
time you hold it, you're like, oh.
Eric's number. Sorry. Eric's number 6.
2025 was the year you asked for it. You got it. Here's another example. My number 6. We ready? Avengers.
Why wasn't that on my list?
Volume 2. We waited way too long for the bookend to that series. New Avengers from 2004. The Secret Invasion happened somewhere in between here, which I wish they would have included that. May have made the Omni too big, too expensive. I'm
8
not
issues,
sure.
though. It wouldn't have done much damage.
Yeah, it wouldn't have broken the bank for them to do that. But either way, this Brian Michael Bendis era on Avengers is very celebrated, deservingly so. He does something really fresh, really different. It's unique to his run. Like there's nobody that's done it like that before. And it's hard to duplicate because it was a different take on a team of Avengers that are not all your usual suspects, but
No.
who you expect to be there show up as well in a weird way. Great time in Marvel Comics because this is a time where post Civil War and the Secret Invasion, Norman Osborn is top dog
He
in
is.
the
Yeah.
Marvel universe.
He's head of what was S.H.I.E.L.D.
He's calling the shots in so many ways. He's taking out Tony Stark. He's got his
Yeah.
own Avengers, which is the Thunderbolts have become the Dark Avengers. It's a crazy time. All of that's explored in this Omni. Both of them are available now. It's a great time for the Avengers. The success of this series probably propelled it to being like the franchise
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Marvel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not to say that the movies don't reflect the classic comics we often talk about from the 80s and 90s and whatever, but this made Avengers the flagship of Marvel.
I believe it was probably the number 1 selling book at the time. I'm not 100% on that one. At least the top 3 Marvel title.
Yeah, not
It's
surprised.
definitely one of the top 10 titles on the rack from across
sure.
the companies.
Bendis was the writer, but he's got great artists along with him. It's
Yeah.
Stuart Immonen somewhere in there, and you got
Yeah. Lionel Francis Yu.
thank you.
Tan, I think, is in there as well.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of great artists that you go through these storylines. It's a worthwhile pickup for the event. If you're an Avengers fan, if you're a Marvel Comics fan of the 2000s, gotta check this out. They did it. They finally released it. We got it.
After so many 12, 13 years, they did it. And we mentioned this in our incoming episode that it's worth you picking up Secret Invasion, even if it's just the basic version of Secret Invasion.
Definitely worth it.
If you read Mighty Avengers alongside as well by Bendis, the first 12 issues tie quite closely in, and Dark Avengers and Siege also tie in. It sounds like a lot. If you want to buy this book and you also want to make sure you're getting the whole story, just get the Marvel Unlimited app. You don't necessarily have to commit to everything, but those 2 New Avengers volumes deserve a place on your shelf. We're going to take a look back at our most popular additions to omniversecomics.guide and all the stuff that was added in 2025. Character reading orders. Number 3, Peacemaker 1986 to 2011. That's the post-crisis version of the character. Number 2, Hulk Family 2008 to 2010. That's Green Hulks versus Red Hulks. And a surprise number 1 was Brainiac 1958 onwards, the Silver Age version of the character. Event reading orders. Number 3, Marvel's Ultimatum. Spider-Man's Brand New Day storyline from 2007 to 2008, and number 1 was DC Comics Crisis on Infinite Earths 1985 to 86. Podcast and video, our third most popular episode this year of the newbies was our top 10 cosmic comics. Number 2, top 10 most wanted DC Omnis and Compendiums. So of course what you're going to expect at number 1 is top 10 Image comics of all time. What a surprise.
Wow, did not expect that.
Neither did
Cool.
I. But
cool.
also, just as an extra 10th option for you, we've got tons of special features, manga features, background reading, all sorts of extra stuff. Our most popular special feature in 2025 that was new to OmniverseComics.guide was What to Read Before the Infinity Gauntlet. You can find out the storylines you really need to pick up before that event.
OmniverseComics.guide. Let's go. Our final 5.
Okay,
Here we
final
go.
5.
Dave's number 5.
My number 5 is one I expected to be higher, admittedly. It was on our 2023 best of list, I think. It's the deluxe edition of Local Man. And I know I started off making it sound like, oh, that's not, it's a bit disappointing. It wasn't disappointing. It was just tough competition this year. This is by Tim Seeley, who I'm a huge fan of, and Tony Fleeks, whose work I don't know much about, to be honest. I'm aware of what he's done. I just haven't read it. I know I've said before, when it comes to love letters, take your love letters, stick them in a drawer, and just stop forcing us to read them, all right? Write proper comics. This is a love letter to 90s Image comics, very much so, but it's also completely its own thing. It takes the piss out of it as well. It knowingly takes the piss out of the ridiculousness of 90s Image superhero comics, but so affectionately. So this is about a team member of Third Gen who didn't exist before this series. And he's called Crossjack. And he's basically kicked out of the team and he returns home. You get little chunks of story of him as Crossjack in all his gaudy yellow and blue stroke black glory. He's one of these people that can just hit any target. So he's almost kind of a good guy bullseye. But he goes back home and everyone hates him for what he did, the stuff that led to him being kicked out of the team. His mum's fine with him. His dad seems to hate his guts. The rest of the town hate him. You know, the catchphrase of pretty much everyone he encounters is Crossjack the whole way through. While this takes the piss out of comics that were largely written for teenage boys, this is an adult book. One of the best jokes in it caught me so off guard, but I can't tell you what it is because it's the surprise that made it so funny. But it's all about like there are bits where there's hallucinogenics involved because he's not meant to operate under Crossjack because of copyright reasons. He puts on a balaclava and starts investigating stuff. And then there's a news headline that says local man saves priests. So they start calling him Local Man. It sticks the landing as well. So it's 13 issues, issues 1 to 13, and then it jumps ahead in time. And they signify that by having the final issue being issue 25. So it's 1 to 13 and 25. You also get the Local Man Gold one shot and the Local Man Bad Girls one shot. That was the era of Bad Girl comics, and they lean into it, but not in the way you think. This is vulgar, violent, hilarious. I loved it. I want to give it a little bit of time, then I'm going to read it again so that I can be surprised by it all over. So that's Local Man Deluxe Edition. It's my number 5. Tim Seeley, Tony Fleeks, Image Comics. Seriously, pick it up.
Eric's number 5.
You asked for it, you get it. Never thought we would get these. Never thought we would get these.
No.
Triangle Era number 2. I think this was my number 1 last year. Volume 1 was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was a great year to be a Superman fan. There was times where I'm like, I could do a whole list this year of just Superman because the Kurt Busiek volumes came out. The compendium for the animated tie of the Superman Adventures,
beautiful book as well.
Beautiful book. Got this guy, Dan Jurgens. There's just all kinds of Superman stuff that came out this year. This leads into the death of Superman and Funeral for a Friend. And it begins with Panic in the Sky. These were 3 trades that used to be available back when trades weren't a common thing. So now they're all together in one book. I used to piece all of this Superman collection bit by bit, and there's so many parts of this that I've never read. I mean, you're getting Walter Simonson, Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Louise Simonson, John Bogdanove, Tom Grummett, a great era of creators all working on an essential, superhero. And you don't realize how integral the character building was that they did. To have all of these Superman comics collected cover to cover, which like the Batman Red Sky has never been done before in this concise way.
No.
So it's just a pleasure to have this collection continuing going forward. It could have easily been my number one as a Superman fan because it does end with two of the most essential Superman sort of stories. The Funeral for a Friend really lends itself to the world of Superman because he's not in
Mm.
it. He's no longer a main character in the book during
Hmm.
those issues. If you've been reading these stories, you care about what's happening with Lois and the parents and Supergirl and Lex Luthor and Jimmy Olsen and Cat. Like these characters, like it's a whole world that he was a part of with friends and he leaves this behind. So like that legacy that you read up to and then what you get left with at the end, it's a good collection, really good collection of Superman stuff.
Watch our Superman review Speakeasy episode 2, huh?
Yeah, nice, nice, nice.
Dave's number 4.
I'm so amazed that we got this year. I genuinely thought they'd lose interest and not do the whole run. But this is X Factor by Peter David Omnibus Volume 4. You can see from the spine, those of you who are paying attention, why the logo changes, why they included the early 90s collection in Volume 1. A lot of the stuff that happens in that volume 10 years or so later does pay off. It makes more sense, I guess, if you know that history. So, sure, why not? Plus, the end of this, and this is probably what brings it down a little to number 4 for me, is it includes the all new X Factor run, also by Peter David, which I thought was okay. And that's 20 issues of that. But it rounds out the X Factor Investigations era, which is the stuff I really, really wanted. And it's issues 233 to 262. This is hefty, man. And it's volume 4. And it's one of those things as well where you just think, are we going to get a fourth volume of this? Who's buying this? And I hope people are. And I hope they're loving it as much as I did. It's a very different take on the X-Men mythos in many ways. While it's part of their corner of the Marvel Universe, this is about a team of mutant investigators led by Jamie Madrox, who seems to have this obsession with film noir. So the multiple man, as he used to be known. But it brings in all sorts of other characters as well, and it's how they interact. And Peter David teases us so perfectly with what may come. And even when you're going like, yeah, but surely that's not going to happen, he finds a way to make it happen. So he's the master of payoffs. Big loss to comics not having him around anymore, but this
Yeah.
work really highlights what he can do. It's not as glitzy as your regular X-Men book. Some of the art's a little grittier.
Yeah.
You get art from Leonard Kirk, Paul Davidson, Neil Edwards. Everyone's perfectly capable. They're great storytellers. They're just not the big names. But don't let that fool you into thinking this somehow isn't as good as the regular X-Men books. It's kind of better.
You're not alone in that opinion. And I've read the volume one of, sorry, I read volume two, which is the X Factor
Investigation stuff.
investigations era, and
Yeah.
it's really strong stuff.
And it gets better. It literally just grows and grows and grows because you start to really love all the characters.
Eric's number 4.
Speaking of our favorite, some of our favorite writers who I'm pretty basic bitch, right? It's very predictable. You asked for it, you got it. Finally, finally.
Oh, yeah, but why not, right? God, you were desperate for this to come out.
I got a real soft spot for JMD, but Sal Buscema on Spider-Man, I got a soft spot as well. This has got issues of Spectacular Spider-Man 178 to 216, so it carries on after JMD jumped onto Amazing Spider-Man. It starts off with the Child Within storyline is one of the early
Oh, it
storylines in this
begins with
collection.
that. Right.
I don't know if it begins directly, but early,
Fairly early on, yeah.
fairly early on. There's a lot of story here with Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin and Peter, which is very, very powerful stuff, as JMD is known to do.
Hmm.
Dr. Kafka is introduced quite heavily because of the Vermin storyline, which is quite heavy at times. Peter's parents
Oh
are
my
in the
God.
picture.
Yeah.
So this is coinciding with like the end of the Michelini stuff where I think like the life theft and those storylines are taking place in
Uh-huh.
Amazing and his parents have shown up. And then this is also during the time of the 30th anniversary of Spider-Man, so you have that
Of course.
hologram cover that's also included, which they had
What,
four different
as a
ones. They
hologram or just a picture of it?
just a picture of it, but
Oh,
this is at the same time as like the death of Superman. These are the comics that I
yeah, I
remember
guess it must be.
in and around that time. And it's just like my 9, 10-year-old brain just feels completely at home looking at these comics. And now that, at this point doing the podcast, getting to know the creator,
Yeah,
the storyteller, like it means so much more. So I'm happy this collection came out. It's well deserved. It's a great run of Spider-Man stuff from a seasoned Spider-Man writer and Sal Buscema, who I mean kind of defined the spectacular book for so long. I didn't realize how long he was on that book, but man,
oh yeah, a fair chunk of time. So I did interrupt you earlier, well,
no,
because
it's
I was
okay.
quite relieved, but we didn't actually say it's spectacular. If you're just listening and not watching, it's the Spectacular Spider-Man by. Is it just by J.M.
N-
DeMatteis, or does it
No,
say Sal Buscema as well?
Sal Buscema as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dave's number 3.
I'm going to hit us up with number three, which I was pretty excited about. There was quite a wait for this one. I think we had a couple of maybe were they hardcover collections split in two. This is a 12 issue series with an extra one shot as well. It's from DC Comics. It's by this will give it away. It's by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. It's the Human Target Deluxe Edition. Look at that cover, man. Look at it. It's the proper noir style. It tells you what you're going to expect. That's actually Ice from Justice League.
that's cool. That's very
So
cool.
this, oh man, look at that kind of shocking pink.
It's very cool. It's a
I can't
nice
remember what you
looking
call
book.
that, the leafing or whatever you call it. I love this whole thing of having no black lines and the color goes to the edge of the panel and it's all just like the most colorful looking, beautiful pages. It still maintains this noir feel, like with the way the lettering is done, the way that color comes in. It's reminiscent to a degree of the Darwin Cook.
Parker.
Parker, thank you.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought as I'm looking at it. But it's in color. I just love it. I love the simplicity of that noir artwork. That, like you said, the no borders. I mean,
Yeah.
in the Parker is very similar to that. It was giving me the same vibe. That's cool.
It's really cool. It's the way the color doesn't go in the borders. It's almost like it's been the print slightly off as it's gone through the
Yeah.
through the run. So they maintain that look and that style, but there is a big mystery involved. So the human target takes a job. It's Christopher Chance. He's an old 70s character, I think. He takes a job to take a bullet for Lex Luthor. Someone's trying to kill Lex Luthor. His job as a human target is to take that shot or punishment or whatever it might be by disguising himself as whoever it is. Then he finds out who the killer is. And that's what this is about. Except the thing is, he was the real target. He finds out he's only got 12 days to live. So over the course of 12 issues, 12 days, he's investigating his own murderer.
Cool.
He's a hard drinking, very noir style character. Ice plays an interesting role in this. If you might not feel it's 100% true to the characters, and that's sometimes the issue with the Tom King stuff, but he's clearly a fan of Justice League International, and this feels like a modern day bookend to that run, but with a very, very different style. It's charming in the way that it's funny. So it's not like laugh out loud like Justice League International was back in the 80s. But this is a great little mystery, and it's the vibe from it is spot on. Smallwood has absolutely nailed the style. He's nailed the feel, and actually, it's one of those things. I think one of the issues we've got these days, I think, is people always having to have an opinion on something, or people always having to decide whether they liked or they loved or hated the latest Tom King book. Like there are middle options. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
have to choose a
Yeah.
5 star or a 0 star. You
I think
know,
that's the curse of having a really, really big
any
hit.
popularity.
Yeah, like when you come out the gates, like the guy and like everything you do is like Vision and then Mr. Miracle and whatever it was he was
Sheriff of
writing. It was
Babylon as well for Vertigo
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah. And then it's like everything sucks now because it's not as good as that. It's like it's not supposed everything's not supposed to be the same, right?
Yeah,
And
and it's
it's
not
okay to like
necessarily for the same
something.
audience every time.
Yeah, yeah. It's like sometimes people listen to a song from an artist on an album. It's like this song's not as good as that one. Yeah, but it's a whole album.
Just
Like you gotta
yeah,
listen to the whole thing. You don't have
yeah,
to, yeah, you know what I
exactly.
mean? It's an
Well, no,
experience.
completely. And he's obviously wanting to tell different kinds of stories. I think there have been
Yeah,
times where he's told very similar kinds of stories, but this is a
yeah,
very different thing. Forget the creators. Get into the story. The
yeah.
human target is a Oh, there's something about this book that feels like it's taking you back to a time that wasn't even yours. That's the magic of great storytelling.
Eric's number 3.
I'm headed back to Image, but predictably, going back to Ghost Machine, another Jeff Johns, Hyde Street,
Ah, wow.
issues 1 to 7. This is a peculiar book. It is a horror comic, crime mystery.
For
It
English people listening, that's horror.
horror. I'm gonna read the description. In every city and town, off every country road and metropolitan avenue, if you make a corrupt choice, you might find yourself on Hyde Street. Be careful who you talk to and what you do because the consequences make death itself seem like the easy way out. You'll meet fascinatingly dangerous people such as shady salesman Mr. X-Ray, the sadistic scout Pranky, the tragic matinee monster, and the weight loss fanatic Miss Goodbody, all of whom compete with each other and the other residents for the one thing that grants them escape, collecting 10,000 souls for the enigmatic scorekeeper. This sadistic scout, Pranky, is a little son of a bitch in this book. And while everybody there is caught in this purgatory for this soul catcher person. He's saying, you want freedom? All these other people who have their karma coming to them, you got to find a way to bring them onto the other side. It's your job.
Ah,
10,000 souls, you get free. So some of them are like two away and they're like, I just want to get free. I don't want to be stuck in this purgatory hell. And the kid, Pranky, is killing for sport. He's basically cock blocking everybody from getting their 10,000 people. Right when they're on the cusp, he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm stopping you."
well,
He's
shit.
just yeah. So this is a Jeff Johns comic.
It doesn't sound like a
It
Jeff Johns
doesn't.
comic.
Ivan Rice, awesome stuff. Just for Ivan Rice, right? The artists in these Ghost Machine books deserve so much credit for the work that they're putting in. Like you got a great writer, Jeff Johns, sure. No, nothing taking away, but these books, I feel like the artists are really being given an opportunity to do what they want to do. Ivan Rice is doing
Horror,
horror.
horror, horror.
Surprised me. Out of all of the different Ghost Machine stuff that had come out in collected editions, there's a lot to pick from in 2025. And this one is off the beaten path a little bit, but I really liked it.
Dave's number 2.
There
Can
it
you
is.
see that?
I can see that.
There we go.
Absolute Martian Manhunter.
Absolute Martian Manhunter, Volume 1. Martian Vision is the subtitle of this. It's by Dennis Camp and Javier Rodriguez. It's part of the Absolute Universe. It's DC's not quite a relaunch, not quite the Ultimate Universe, more like the Age of Apocalypse because it's a
Yeah, that's a
world
good way
where
to put it.
Darkseid is in charge, much like Apocalypse was in charge. But you don't really see an awful lot of him in the Absolute stuff. But some of the tendrils are kind of there in some of the titles. I actually read this on DC Infinite, the digital platform. As soon as I saw this and the preview art from it, when you get that feeling where you're going, I'm gonna love this book. I'm gonna love this book, and I can see it's like my perfect level of weird. I love that shit. It's got a bit of a Ditko vibe. I don't want to batch Dennis Camp in with Grant Morrison and that he's a similar writer. I don't think he is. But it feels the closest thing I can describe it as is if Grant Morrison wrote a Steve Ditko book. It's trippy. It's weird. It's about a guy who's not sure if he's hallucinating, that he's not possessed as such, but is sharing a body or a mind with a Martian.
That's cool.
He's a detective, John Jones. It's a slant on the original
You're right.
version of the character, but it's a very, very different take. Even like the element, there is, oh shit, I've spoiled it. I'll beep that. You will have heard of beep. That's very, very different. In theory, the core of the character is there in a lot of the Absolute titles. Like it's the core of Wonder Woman is still there in Absolute Wonder Woman and so on and so forth. There are the key elements of Martian Manhunter, but I think you can get away with a bit more because who the has read the 1950s, 60s Martian Manhunter comics? Oh. People are going to be less precious. So, do you know what? You can do whatever you want. And they have. And I don't know where we're going. And that's what I love about this book. It's going to surprise me at every turn because I literally don't know what they're going to do. I
Mm,
can't see where it's taking us. And that
that's fun.
really excites me because
Yeah.
I feel like I can spoil an ending without without even trying. But with this
Yeah,
book, I
yeah, yeah.
can't. And it's primary colored madness. And I can't wait for it to wrap up, really, so I can see the whole thing. I believe it's going to be 12 issues. It's not going to go past 12 issues. This is two creators at their insane finest.
Eric's number 2.
This came in end of the year, was my last pre-order that arrived, and I managed to finish this omnibus in a week.
Ah, right. I had a weird. Sorry, I've done it again.
No,
Tell us, what is the
it's
book, Erickson?
it is Warlord by Mike Grell, Omnibus Volume 1. This was one of those series that I always saw in advertisements in my DC Comics and just wondered who the hell he was. Warlord. Where does he fit in? And what caught my interest was Mike Grell because I'm a fan of Mike Grell and his Green Arrow run and whatnot. And so I'm like, you know what? I would read this. And he's the artist throughout this whole series and the writer.
Hmm.
The premise, if people don't know what Warlord is about, I guess Hollow Earth theory in a way, where you've got this pilot, Travis Morgan, who is on a reconnaissance mission with the US Air Force. And he's just going somewhere over Russian borders to take some photos of a weapon installation that they've got. And then they notice him, he flies back, his engine gets damaged. It's an old yarn that in the intro of this book, Mike Grell had said this was an old yarn in the Air Force. And I think he served himself, so he
Ah,
has some experience. He goes, so this was tales that we used to talk about, and then there's this portion of the North Pole and the South Pole where there's this you can enter and go into Skataris, which is this Atlantis-like Conan the Barbarian type of world that you're in. And Warlord is very much, I would say, a DC analog to Conan, with what they were doing at Marvel at the time in the
yeah.
70s. But why I put this so high on the list was because you would think that this came out during the craze of post Star Wars and all those sci-fi movies that were coming out, but it wasn't. It was ahead of all of that kind of stuff. And it was Mike Grell's original idea. He had this concept that he had in his head for years, which was, I forgot the name of it, but when he had an opportunity to, it was a Savage Empire, I think it was called. He had this
Oh,
story, Savage Empire. But this is just sword and sorcery, getting trapped, escaping. It's like a fantastic Saturday morning cartoon. He's got his love interest that he's on an adventure with, and then different people he picks up along the way, and then they disappear and come back later. But it's all of this getting caught and defying death. He's like a character of destiny. He should be dead. Like there's no reason he should be alive, but it's the adventure
maybe it's a
that you go
dream.
on.
It's not.
You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things where it's so ridiculous. Him fighting off hordes and armies of people and just finding a way to survive. Like it's a violent book. He
Uh-huh.
is not Batman. He is more than willing to take a life if he has to, because it's a survival of the fittest where he's ended up. But it's got all of this technology that he discovers because Scataris was what Atlantis had become,
Oh,
this technological advanced society beyond what Earth had, or
oh,
like
okay.
mainland Earth, right? They're just sunk in, if you
Mm.
will. Similarly to your human target. The make of this book, it's very
Yeah.
thick.
Well, I noticed you're holding it in one hand mostly. Yeah, I've been doing that with mine.
It weighs
Looky.
nothing because they did the paper stock of like original comics. So you're reading it's this thick, good quality paper. So
Uh-huh.
it's a 700 page
Yeah.
omnibus that looks like it's 1500, but
Yeah.
the smell of the book, it just
Yeah.
brings me back to like old school comics.
The other question people might have about something like this, if they don't know their Bronze Age DC, is whether or not this is set in the DC universe. And it is. It's far enough removed that you wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah, you can read this, never have read comics before, and just get into these adventures, and it's just fun.
Dave's number 1.
Okay, my number one is from September. It's from Living the Line. It's by EPHK. It's Harpy. Futuristic sci-fi cop story. Gunnar Yang Bung as the primary character. The Harpy in question, she's nasty and she's treacherous and she's mean-spirited and a drug abuser and a cop.
Lovely.
But she is investigating this job she shouldn't be investigating, really. And she brings loads of people on with her, and it's disastrous, truly disastrous. And she's getting further and further into trouble, crossing lines that she shouldn't, investigating people who are basically warning her to leave it alone. But it's all set in this future timeline, 2064 in Cape Town. For a lot of the initial pages, I actually messaged EPHK while I was reading this. He said, "Let me know what you think." It's kind of like, Do you actually want to know what I think?" But I let him know because he asked, and I said, "I'm literally reading a lot of pages of her just kind of moving around the house and getting ready for work." And frankly, I could read an entire book of that. The art on this book is his inimitable style, and I love his art so much. When I share some of his stuff, people I know who don't read comics but politely follow the Omniverse Comics Guide on Instagram go, "What was that, though? What was that thing that you shared?" A lot of his stuff you can order from his site. It's his own kind of creator owned stuff. He's got a Kickstarter or had a Kickstarter this year. You can see the interview with EPHK, which I think was happening around February this year, which was a collector's item special where he talks about some of his influences. So, yeah, story wise, it beat everything else for me. But the thing that really pushed it to that top level was that EPHK art. The way he's designed the city, the way he's designed the characters, the way that people move. I'm so desperate for more stuff from him. I will literally take anything. He's got a new image book coming out in the new year. I think the trade should be out midway through, which is Tigress Island. I'll dub it later. He's the create one of the creators I watch avidly, and I'm so glad to have gotten a book from him this year and to have loved it as much as I did. So yeah, EPHK, the book's Harpy. It's from Living the Line. That's my number one for 2025.
Eric's numero uno.
Eric is a predictable fellow,
Be
but
I know what it is.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was two comic book collaborators who we thought were going to make an incredible Justice League book, and it wasn't what we all wanted it to be. But in 2025, they got back together and released Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor from DC Black Label, Mark Waid, and once again, Brian Hitch is making my list this year. For those who missed it, there's a great episode of Dave and Brian Hitch doing a collector item special.
Thank you.
And Brian talks quite descriptively of how much he loves Superman.
Yeah.
And this book, you feel it. If you're a fan of Mark Waid and you hear him talk about Superman, it could bring you to tears how
Yeah.
much he loves Superman. Superman and Lex Luthor on a team up. Brainiac is there. Like, it's just a great read. It's just a great read. I can't wait to read it again. I don't want to get
I can't
into too much
wait to read it once.
Yeah.
The first time.
Mark Waid, Brian Hitch, you got my number one spot this year. Superman was my number one last year. That was very much out of like nostalgia and love for that era as a kid. But this not to say that those comics aren't great, but this is a great modern day Superman story. Well, we did it. We got through 20.
We got through 20 and we did it with no innuendos.
We did
I don't
good.
know if
It's
that's a
because,
win or a loss.
well, we're gonna have to get Omega Bread back into the live streams, and we'll get a lot of innuendos with him back in the
Oh,
shuffle.
undoubtedly, yeah. Well,
I'm
so
sure he's
yeah,
got a ton waiting.
he's probably about to explode as like an innuendo bomb.
For sure. Well, we did it. Our top 20 for 2025. It was
Yeah.
a good year of comic
Great
releases
year.
overall. Overall, there was a lot to
Nice
pick.
variety too.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, don't forget to check out omniversecomics.guide. The reading orders that Dave puts together for some of the stuff that we were able to talk about today
Yeah.
will just help you along the way. If you're lost, like, where does this fit in? We got you covered. All right, Dave. Till next time, my friend. Everybody
Till
listening
next
on
time.
YouTube or listening on the different podcast platforms, watching on YouTube. Till next time.
Peace.